Asiatic black bears are strong, majestic creatures, but so gentle in spirit. They're playful and humorous, and solitary in nature. Found in mountainous regions such as China, Vietnam and Laos, they're also known as moon bears because of this large lemony crescent-shaped moon on their chests. Sadly, these beautiful creatures are highly endangered and suffer a dire fate at the hands of humans. Across Asia, an estimated 14,000 moon bears are being held in captivity on farms and milked for their bile because it's believed to be a health tonic in the practice of traditional Asian medicine. Kept in cages like this, they're starved and dehydrated. They're drugged, restrained, and have their abdomens jabbed with unsterilised 4-inch needles until their gallbladders are punctured to release their bile. Others are milked through open, infected abdominal wounds or rusty catheters. And they're pumped full of antibiotics and other drugs just to keep them alive. Most of them develop massive infections, multiple diseases, and malignant tumours that ultimately kill them.
Bear farming has the worst level of animal cruelty and the most animal welfare issues of anything that I've ever seen or experienced. Some of these bears stay in cages for up to 30 years and they're crushed and can't even turn around. There's no way that any other species would be able to survive this level of cruelty, and it's only because of the stoic nature of bears that people are able to exploit them in this inhumane manner. Bears on farms suffer beyond any comprehension. They don't even get the dignity of euthanasia at the end of their lives. When their bodies are exhausted and they can no longer produce bile because they're riddled with disease, they're not even given the dignity of humane euthanasia. These animals are left to suffer, to starve, and die of dehydration. And we've seen this many times. The most dramatic was probably in 2008 with a bear that we called Peace.
We began rescuing these beautiful bears way back in 1995, but still the extraction methods haven't improved and conditions are just as horrendous as they always were, and bears are dying in droves on farms across the country.
Our latest rescue in China in April this year showed us again the horrible truth of bear farming. Sometimes wearing gruesome metal jackets, the bears arrive still in their cages, in many cases the only environment they've ever known. They're often suffering from wounds to their snouts, their teeth are worn away or are shattered from biting at the cage bars, and their feet are cracked and rotting, having never felt the earth beneath them. Many have paws or even whole limbs missing from having been trapped in the wild, using heavy, spring-loaded steel traps that crush and shatter their bones. Once freed from their cages, they're taken immediately to our hospital for examination and surgery by our specialist veterinary team.
Over the years, we've seen bears that we've loved, respected, and tried so hard to save, losing the battle, losing their lives in this hideous trade.
Bears like Chengdu Truth and Kiki, who were among 28 bears delivered to our door in March 2008. The ones that don't make it, however, don't die in vain. They give us important scientific data to help put an end to this appalling practice. The ones that pull through face a long road of rehabilitation and socialisation, and learning to trust humans is often the first step. These special bears continue to keep us in awe with their amazing resilience, forgiveness and spirit. Bears like our gorgeous blind Wilfred, how he ever lived with that awful infected fistula, his blindness and paralysis, we'll never know. But here he is today, exploring his world and a true ambassador for the ones left behind. Rupert, our brain-damaged bear, who loved playing with little Francie until she passed away in October 2009, here today, living in the serenity of our special care enclosure. And handsome Quantock, who arrived having rubbed his face so severely on the bars of his cage that his fur will no longer grow back.
The worst part about this appalling trade, this disgusting industry, is that bear bile is completely unnecessary. There are over 54 different herbal alternatives and man-made synthetics which take its place. No one is going to die for the lack of bear bile.
Animals Asia has spent the last 5 years conducting important research with Chinese scientists on the effectiveness of herbal alternatives to bear bile.
虽然熊胆用了2000多年啊，那么从我们的研究来看呢，其实更常用的还是一些植物药，而不是动物药啊。那么在熊胆同样功效的这一类药里边，像同样属于清热解毒药里边，像我们研究的黄连啊、黄芩、黄白这一类药呢，一般来讲呢，比熊胆的保肝、抗肿瘤啊，还有在心血管方面、神经系统方面的效果都更好、更直接。 而且呢，它是植物药，没有什么副作用。那么，所以从我们的研究来看呢，就是在使用熊胆方面呢，是客观来讲是没必要的啊，因为它熊胆的很多作用都可以用不同的中药去代替。
The wider traditional medicine community has also discovered herbal alternatives proven to be just as effective as bile.
我们一直遵循这个天人合一的思想来开展中医。什么叫天人合一啊？就是人跟自然有密切的关系，也可以说人和自然是统一和谐的。啊，不熊取胆或者是养熊取胆，我认为这都是不好的。 这既是违反我们天人合一的观点，还有可以代替它的，没有必要用熊胆。不但我们用过熊胆，据我所知道的，我所接触的那些中医界的朋友们，他们也几乎没用过熊胆。
And there is growing support for our work in the broader community in China to end bear farming and to only use products that heal without harm.
The irony is that bear bile could be extremely dangerous to human health, and according to doctors in Vietnam, it could even be deadly for those consuming it.
The bears we rescue from farms are sick and suffer from a litany of ailments. Over 35% have succumbed to liver tumours, and in some cases, they're weighing over 7 kilograms in weight. Bile taken from these extremely sick bears is mixed with blood, pus, urine, and even faeces, and is collected in unsterilised basins.
I've operated on hundreds of bears that are rescued from bear bile farms, and the level of disease that these animals suffer is unimaginable. They suffer from liver cancer, gallbladder cancer, heart disease, and hundreds of other metabolic conditions. The bile that comes out of these animals is just disgusting. It's normally thick, bloody, infected, full of pus, and has really no medicinal value that I can perceive at all. I think anybody that's taking bile from such a diseased and infected animal is really putting their own health at risk.
So bear bile that finds its way into consumers' hands contains the very same infectious and cancerous elements that is killing these very sick bears. At last, after so many years, thank goodness we have the attention of the Chinese and the Vietnamese governments who share our concerns, not just for the health of the people, but for the welfare of the bears too. And most excitingly of all, we've been invited to Beijing to meet the National Food and Drug Administration to share the results of our research. We'll be showing them that not only are these bear farmers covering up their methods of bile extraction, but they're deceiving everyone with the treatment of these bears on the farms who are dying in droves in China and Vietnam. We'll also be showing that they're illegally exporting the bile to countries such as South Korea and Japan.
We now have an office in Beijing, enabling us to work more closely with China's central government to raise awareness of the practices and dangers related to this industry.
A lot of officials, they're changing their attitude, both in their attitude to our work and their attitude to the animals.
One of Animals Asia's biggest achievements over the last few years is to have the commitment of 20 provinces out of 31 in China to be bear farm free. And not only that, to expose and close down any that they find. So this means that over half of the country of China is bear farm free and committed to staying that way. But this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Bear farming is also rampant in Vietnam, where we opened a sanctuary in 2007.
Bear farming in Vietnam has been illegal since 1992. But despite that, there are over 4,000 moon bears on bear farm in Vietnam today. Even though they're not allowed to extract bear bile, but they always claim that they only keep bears for pet and not for bear bile extraction. Although Vietnam has very tough law against bear bile farming, and in particular bear bile extraction and selling bear bile. The issue we face at the moment is the lack of law enforcement from the government, and that's why we're here, to work with government to help end this trade and to rescue as many bears as possible from this bear farm.
Animals Asia is working in collaboration with the Vietnamese government to rescue these bears and bring bear farming to an end. And in that sense, we alert them to the illegal farms, and if they agree to close them down, we can then bring the bears to our sanctuary.
Our sanctuaries in China and Vietnam give the bears that do make it a chance at living their lives free from fear, pain and suffering. They've lost, and in many cases never had, their natural survival skills, so they can never be reintroduced to the wild. But at least they're able to live out their lives in the safety and security of our enclosures. Bears like Snoopy, who came to us in November 2003, completely blind with cataracts and out of her head with fear. In March this year, we were thrilled when ophthalmologists from the UK's Animal Health Trust paid us a visit in Chengdu, hoping to give sight back to some of our sightless bears, including Snoopy. And they did. Today, Snoopy has her vision back, and here this amazing bear is obviously moving her eyes towards things like food, which she can very clearly see. And Jasper, one of our favourites. Jasper lived in a cage like this for 15 years, and a decade later, he's the most gentle and forgiving animal on the planet. He's the peacemaker of our community, warmly welcoming new bears, breaking up the occasional disagreement, and simply making us laugh with some of his antics.
We've come a long, long way since beginning the moon bear rescue in 1995, and we've overcome the most incredible difficulties, especially here in China. But what I'm proud to say is that we've really championed, I think, an animal welfare movement here across the country, where people are very willing to speak out about the plight of animals and have even started drafting animal welfare legislation. The media, who would rarely report on animal welfare issues in the past, are now becoming bolder and more courageous, and even coming on bear rescues with us in China and Vietnam. Even celebrities are speaking out on behalf of animals. I believe we're on the cusp of significant change. We have a long-term strategic plan in place, our programs are working, and we will bring bear farming to an end.
I'm very positive that bear farming will be ended soon in China.
But we still have a long, long way to go, and Animals Asia will never give up until the very last bear farm is closed and as many bears as possible in China and Vietnam wake up each morning with the sun on their backs and without fear in their hearts.